Oh man, she did what? Why is the government always lying? That's not your fault. That was your mother's job. I know it sucks. It's hard, but it's fair. If we don't get our heads out of our collective asses, we're gonna be lost in the sauce. You knew he was sorry when you met him at DHS. Come on, baby girl. What's the solution? Look, I know I'm fucked up.
It's in the house. What up, good brother? How you doing?
I'm good. What's good, homie?
Same old, man. For any of my listeners on Spotify, YouTube, and Podbean, when you hear me refer to the chat, I am talking about the people in the chat on Facebook Live, because as I am recording this for Spotify, YouTube, and Podbean, I am also broadcasting live from Facebook. So, tonight's topic, I plan on losing some listeners after tonight's topic of the female variety.
Probably.
Because it's been brought to my attention that it's very difficult to call women to the carpet on certain things. And Solo, I was watching some things on your page to where you had made a post about domestic violence, saying that the real victim in domestic violence is the children.
Right.
And I thought, man, that's very noble. I thought that was very wise. And then the next thing I know, I saw woman after woman dragging you on your post, like, oh, screw you, pal. You know, I hope some horrible individual even went as far as say, I hope your daughter gets domestic violence done on her. And I thought that was weird, one, and horrible, number two. Can you kind of shine some light on what motivated you to make a post like that and what your intentions were of making that post?
Yeah, okay, so I've seen this my whole life or whatever. And I've had it in my family. I know people personally. And I was giving my honest opinion about it. And everybody knows how I am. I'm gonna say my opinion whether people like it or not. And you're free to say your opinion too. You know, we're grown adults, we ain't gotta agree. But basically, and I was talking about this for men or women, because men get abused too, but for some reason everybody was only focused about the women. So I was like, all right, we'll just focus on the women. So I was basically saying women who get abused, you know what I'm saying, if they can get out, like, I understand not every situation is the same. Sometimes you can't leave for financial reasons. He threatens to kill you, whatever.
Sure.
But if you're blessed enough to get out of the situation, like you take your kid, you get out, you move, you have a whole new life, yada, 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 and you go back, I don't feel bad for you. I feel bad for that child that got put back in that abusive household. You know what I'm saying? Like, because like I kept telling people, I know a dude personally, a couple of years ago, it was a dude that was getting abused by his girlfriend, and you know he took the son and he left. Like he had like a whole new apartment. I think he had a girlfriend or whatever, and she convinced him to come back. Or how people make excuses manipulated. Like they convince you to come back. You like whatever. So he went back, and not even 2 weeks later, she ended up burning his kid, and he left for good after that. But it took your son getting burnt for you to leave, and now his son has like an extreme fear of fire. You know what I'm saying? But I'm supposed to feel bad for him. You know what I'm saying? And like, yeah, a whole bunch of women like came out attacking me, talking about, you know, if you don't understand, if you've never been emotionally abused or whatever, then you shouldn't speak on it. Even though I've never done crack either, and I'm pretty sure that's not a good idea either. And there was also multiple women on there who have been abused and still agree with me. You know what I'm saying? So like. And then some people were saying it takes an average of like 7 times for a person to leave abuse permanently. Which one, I don't listen to fucking statistics, you know what I'm saying? Because they can say any fucking thing. And 2, so 6 times you was stupid. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, if you can't get away for whatever reason, that's one thing. But if you're blessed enough to get away and you go back to it, I ain't finna feel bad for you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's fucking stupid. Like, people can't take responsibility for their actions. Like they keep saying, you know, he manipulated me to come back, bitch. He convinced you to come back. And that goes for men too, men or women. You know what I'm saying? And so that's basically what it was. Like, I have all sympathy for the kid. I have no sympathy for the man or woman that goes back unless they're in a position where they can't leave. And
so let me get this straight. So basically, what you're saying is, the child is innocent. The child doesn't have a choice that can be made. You know, the child is just kind of flapping in the wind based on the decisions that the mom or the dad makes,
right,
who decides to go back to the bad situation. And that's kind of what I got from the situation when I was watching the back and forth on Facebook. Now, for me, when I saw that, I said, I'm the kind of person who likes to have some information. And I got on the CDC's website. I also got on the National Institute of Violence's website because I wanted to see the numbers, and I wanted to see, you know, if any of the things that these young ladies were saying on Facebook had any validity. And I found out that I was really slapped in the face, because I thought, like most people, men are usually the perpetrators of these heinous acts. And I thought that, women are always on the receiving end. So I was going to look to find some information out, and I was slapped in the face with the contrary. What I found out was 40 some odd % of men, according to the CDC study, report being abused in relationships. I had no idea. Studies have shown that women are just as likely as men to do violence, and they are more likely to do violence in a family setting. A la in the form of abusive hitting, touching, abusive verbiage, doing harm to kids. They are like more likely to do these things than men. Where men tip the scale is violent crimes against society, armed robberies and assaults and things like that. That's typically where men's violence stem from. And the stigma with men being more violent than women comes from this fact. Men have the ability to do great violence when it comes to physically engaging a woman. The average man, he doesn't have to be like yourself, a professional fighter. The average man could kill the average woman with his bare hands. And the average woman doesn't possess the ability to do that. And what I found out after I'd done a little bit of research is that women statistically are more violent than men. What I found out is that it's classified differently. Men's violence is classified as severe violence. And in that way, because we can do greater harm to women, it's classified as more severe. But per capita, when it comes to volume, women are more guilty of committing violent acts. They hit men at a higher rate. They spit on men, scratch, they tear up cars, they beat up houses, they play mind games. What do you call it? I know you alluded to manipulation earlier, but it's psychological abuse. That's what they do. Yeah.
And like Aaron said, the kids grow up to also suffer abuse, because like a woman was saying earlier, unfortunately, most of the time the child grows up and also gets into a relationship abuse. Yeah, because to them that's normalized. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you took the words right out of my mouth. That's exactly what happens in these situations. You grow up thinking that, abuse is normal. It is your normal. Why wouldn't it be? Because the greatest people in my life, i.e. mom and dad, they do violence. I know for me, I've talked about it before, and I've told people, my drug of choice in the streets was violence. Violence is a very addictive drug, man. There's no greater feeling than kicking somebody in the tail once in a while whenever they run afoul of you. And it's a very tough habit to break, because you have to learn how to socialize without laying hands on people. And emotions and feelings are very powerful. And when you're in the streets, because I grew up around violent people, and I learned violence. And I will tell you from experience, it is very difficult to unlearn that, because when someone makes you angry, when someone hurts your feelings, when someone disrespects you, when someone makes you feel embarrassed, someone embarrasses you, that's your go-to. That becomes your go-to. So that was a very good point that Aaron Vincent brought up in the chat, is that these kids grow up into adults, and they have been molded and shaped in a violent atmosphere, so they've then too become violent offenders. And don't get me wrong, there are adverse effects to where the kid can be one of those passive aggressive people, one of those people that get pushed around and stuff like that, because violence affected them in another kind of way, to where they never want to be violent. You know what I mean? Because they saw the disgusting nature of violence, and now I don't want to be violent. Whatever happens, I don't want to be mom, or I don't want to be dad. I know what that looks like, and I don't want to be that.
And what surprised me the most is like, cause so many, my thing I was so shocked on was like, cause there's a whole bunch, like like, you know, maybe a small percentage that didn't agree with me. Majority of people agree with me, and like I said, I'm not gonna say no names, but there was a couple of women that like have personally inboxed me, and you know, told me they were thankful that I brought up the subject, because one woman said that she was she was with an abusive man for like 13 years, and the result of it, she ended up getting her kids taken away. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, most people, and like I said, this ain't just about women. Like, you know, it's about men too. Like, people just want to focus on the women, but it's like when you go back to the abuse, you know what I'm saying, and then DHS end up taking your kids away from the abusive household. Like, you want to cry wolf and all that when you didn't have to go back in the first place. Like, a bunch of women were like saying I was victim blaming and blah 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 blah. And they were acting like I was saying the women were choosing to be abused, which no, nobody wants to be abused. I don't want anybody to be abused. And like I was saying, I understand there are certain situations where like the woman can't get out. You know what I'm saying? But if you can get out, if I get out, I mean, you get out, you know, you're financially stable, you know, life is good, bam. And, you know, as y'all make the excuse, he manipulated me. I mean, he convinced you to go back. You know, you go back with your child in an abusive household, and then something ends up happening to the kid. Like, how many, and everybody knows this story too, how many girls, you know, said, you know, my dad raped me when I was little, you know what I'm saying, you know, shit like that. Like, you go back and like something happens to your kid, but I'm supposed to feel bad for the parent who didn't have to go back in the first place. Like, no, like I said, I don't care who gets mad. Like, you made the choice to go back when you didn't have to. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're supposed to, like, as a parent, you're supposed to be the protector of your child, and you're taking them back into an abusive household. And like I said, before any of y'all be like, you know, saying like some women can't get out for financial reasons, they don't have anybody. Sometimes he kills them. For instance, kills them. They don't come back. I'm not talking about a situation like that. I'm talking about when you can get out, like you're out of the situation and you yourself go back to the situation, and something ends up happening to your kids. Because we've all seen movies, we've all seen like hood movies where like a man and a woman are about to get into an argument, and they cut the scene to the child in the next room, and like all you see is like the walls like shaking and shit like that. Like, I know it's just a movie, but that shit happens in real life. And just think of like what the child is thinking. Kids aren't stupid. Like, it doesn't matter how young they are. Kids aren't stupid. Like, they see that, and when they grow up, they're, like I said, if a woman sees her daddy beating up her mama all the time, she's gonna think that's normal. So when she grows up, she's gonna get in an abusive relationship. If a son sees his dad beating up his mama, he's gonna start hitting him when he grows up, because he thinks that's normal.
Mark Klaus brings up a very valid point in the chat. Mark Klaus says it's difficult to handle intense situation by socializing today because too many are brought up in the wrong ways these days, and the smallest amount of criticism can rip into to this younger generation's feelings. And sadly, more times than not, instead of handling it with a good old-fashioned boxing match, they prefer to pull gun or knives or bats, and it leads to someone getting killed. Now, I want to chime in on what Mark said right there and kind of piggyback off of it. We deal with a toxically sensitive generation. Now this cancel culture, you said something I didn't like, I'm blocking you. You don't agree with me, I'm blocking you. Or I'm gonna start name calling and stuff like that. You can't even have an intelligent conversation with people, because if you don't agree with some of me and my best friends, we never agree on anything sometimes. And when we do agree, it's like, oh, I don't know what we're gonna talk about now, because we agree. Like, that's what life is about, that ebb and flow, that tug of war, you know what I mean? Matching wits, that's what it's about. And I don't see that happening a lot anymore. And I think people are being socialized to kind of run and hide and be cowards instead of dealing with things. I had to go back because it was too hard. Wait a minute, you had to go back and be in a bad situation? My heart goes out to anybody who has been a victim of abuse, but let me tell you something. You got to put your big girl pants on, and you got to get on down the road. If you are a man and you're being abused by a woman, which a lot of men don't like to report it. A lot of men won't call the cops on a woman who is being disrespectful or abusive. I know personally, I've called the cops, and the cop came out and was like, say, bro, You really think she gonna do something? I was like, arrest this woman. She just kicked my door. She pulled on me. They look, this is my favorite shirt. She ripped my shirt, sir. Okay, I want you to bump her head on the car in the back seat when you take her away. I want to stand on the porch and wave bye with my kids while you take her to jail because she came over here and did wrong by me. And what now, in my heart, I really don't want that to happen, but I would have liked to had that happen, to be able to say, look, you see what you get messing with me? Come over here with that foolishness if you want to, girl. I can't even call the cops, and the cops take it seriously when, as a man, I've been wronged by a woman. Now, if I called the cops on another man cave, they would come take the report. Okay, man, we'll find this guy, we'll take care of it. But if you call the cops and you tell them that you have been brutalized by a woman, it's going to be a joke. It's going to be a joke. And women, and please listen, women, when I say this, if it don't apply, let it fly. I know not all women. You don't have to say that. I'm talking to intelligent people, and I know not all women. Not everybody. You can't speak for. I get that. I understand that. So please don't miss this. Don't miss this gem by being on the defensive. If it's not you, it's not you. Okay, just get the information. What I'm saying is, it is very hard to hold women accountable. Why? Because society has groomed them to do whatever the hell they want to do. Society has groomed them to be able to do whatever they want to do, and in any situation, the woman is the victim. The woman is the victim, and that's wrong. Because if I call the cops are going to come out there. Example, if the shoe's on the other foot, if I'm kicking a door at this young lady's house and I just ripped her favorite shirt, he would put me in, he wouldn't ask her anything. He would just come grab me, put cuffs on me, and stuff my ass in the back of the police car. That's exactly what would happen. And all I'm saying is, if women are jockeying for equal pay and to be equal to men in all points of society, we have to hold them equally responsible when it comes to abuse. You can't only get the good things of equality. You have got to understand that there is a dark side to the institution of womanhood as well. And not all women are sweet, dainty, innocent, beautiful creatures. They just not. The movie, what was that movie? Mommy Dearest? I'm a little older. You guys may not remember Mommy Dearest. That came from somewhere. What was the other one? The crazy boy with the motel, Bates. Yeah, Norman Bates. You know, the Bates Motel. Come on now. These stories didn't just pop out of thin air. They are loosely based on something in reality. So what that tells me is there are some women among us who are hiding amongst the good women. And we were talking and joking earlier, me and Solo, and I was saying the good women won't oust them. Like if you're a low down dirtbag type of dude, and we'll get you out of the brotherhood. We'll tell you, hey, look, man, if you messing with dude, man, I can't fool with you. You know, he be breaking the houses and stuff, man. I can't deal with that. You know, keep that dude out from over here. They'll be like, look, Keisha ain't worth a quarter, but she can do some hair, though. You know, they'll keep Keisha's low down raggedy behind around because she keep everybody's hair laid, and she's not a good woman. What's Kevin Palmer saying?
They want to be equal, but don't want to be accountable for their unstable emotions.
Oh my God, I can't wait till this production gets a lot better and I get mic drops and bombs and stuff, because, yeah, he just dropped the bomb right there.
Because most of the time, they want equal rights when it benefits them. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many examples I can give. They want equal rights when it benefits them. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I believe in equal rights. You know what I'm saying? I believe in equal rights. But also at the same time, like, for example, and we see it everywhere. We see it in movies. We see it everywhere else. Like when a man, you know, slaps the shit out of a woman, you know, he gets blasted. When a woman slaps the shit out of a man, he gets fucking, you know, yeah. Like, let me see. Cause just like, okay, cause we were talking about this too. Chris Brown, what happened with Rihanna fucking years ago, and he's still getting a backlash from it. Cause there was a reason he slapped the shit out of her. There was a reason. They just didn't tell that part. There was a reason he slapped the shit out of her, and he's still getting blasted to this day. I was on his post not too long. Well, I don't remember when it was, but it was like his daughter's birthday or something. And like, you know, a positive post. and I saw all kinds of comments about him being a woman beater. He should have a child taken away, all that. But then when Bow Wow got slapped by his girlfriend, like he was getting clowned through the roof.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's double standards. Like another thing, my favorite fighter, Floyd Mayweather. People claim they don't like him because of his domestic violence against women, right? But yet, y'all were pushing for him and Ronda Rousey to fight. And also, Ronda Rousey's bitch ass, in her fucking book or whatever the hell she had, was bragging about how she was slapping the shit out of her boyfriend because he wouldn't do what she said. You know, and once again, she was a woman that was fucking on Floyd about his domestic violence. But yeah, what's her husband's name? Travis Brown, who beat the shit out of his wife. You know what I'm saying? And y'all don't say shit about that. Like, yeah, double standards out the ass for sure.
Mm-hmm. And you know, it's funny that you bring up Chris Brown, because I was thinking about Jay-Z, how Beyonce's sister brutalized him in the elevator, and Jay-Z's like, you know, he's like cowering, like, oh, you know, but he's to me, he's very lucid. He's very aware, because he's like, if I touch a fingernail on this girl, I'm worth millions of dollars. Is he a billionaire or something like that? I don't keep up with that stuff. I know he's stupid rich.
Yeah.
And there's no way I should ruin my life because this girl's wigging out for whatever reason. I don't know. But then you look at what was the young man's name who played football? Rice. Can't think of his name. Ray Rice. Ray Rice knocked the girl out on the elevator. But nobody, and don't get me wrong, that's not okay. But look at the video. She rushed him. Nobody ever talks about the fact that she ran up on him and he caught her with a check hook backing up. Bop! You know, we recognize terms like check hook as fighters. But that's what he did. He slid back and bing. And, you know, they got married later on or whatever. But I think that she recognized her responsibility in that situation. She recognized how she, what part she played in the situation. Because she was wrong, and so was he. I mean, you don't knock out your wife, you know, but don't run up on me either. You know what I mean? We've been drinking, we've been out here. You done already went through my phone while I was drunk. We got problems already, and then you're gonna run all up on me.
And see, my thing is, so everybody knows how outspoken I am. So about a year ago, I used to always post my opinion on certain topics because people would like literally like message me, like request for me to do certain topics. Like I've done abortion before. I've done gay marriage. You know what I'm saying? My posts used to be slamming, and I post my opinions. I have no problem with somebody else's opinion. You know what I'm saying? Like we're adults. If you don't agree, you just don't fucking agree. And so like on the post, what was pissing me off? Like one, it was getting me hot because like I care about kids, and I fucking hate people who fucking hurt kids. And like it was like the woman on there, especially like two specifically, you know, she just wanted to argue. And I told her like several times, I was like, listen, woman, you ain't gonna change my views, I'm not gonna change yours. You know what I'm saying? I don't agree with you, you don't agree with me. We're both grown, just fucking move on. You know what I'm saying? And you can tell when somebody's in their feelings because they start doing insults and all that shit, like, but like, cause like the whole point of it was, like I said, you're supposed to try to protect kids no matter what, because kids can't protect themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like people, like they want, like I said, I was talking about men and women, but of course it kind of went back to just talking about the women. You know what I'm saying? And y'all was acting like I was like victim blaming, like saying like it was a woman's fault and blah, blah, blah. Like I know nobody chooses to get abused. I don't want nobody to get abused. But like I said, once again, if you leave and go back, like why the fuck would I feel bad for you? That's just like if you have a son, like fucking a 6-year-old kid, you cooking on the stove. He touched the stove once, you're gonna help him out or whatever. He touched the stove again the second time after burning the first time. You ain't gonna feel bad for him because he knew what happened the first time. You know what I'm saying? Like that, y'all just killed me with that. Like y'all really fucking killed me with that. Like you're supposed to protect the kids, and you putting them in a dangerous situation. And when something happens to the fucking kid, I'm supposed to feel bad for that parent. Like yeah, it's a sad situation and shit like that, but it's fucking stupid. Like you going back is fucking stupid. Like I saw some women saying that's why women don't like report it, like because people like you who don't be supportive and blah 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 blah. like if I know somebody personally who was being abused, you know what I'm saying, I'll do everything I could to help her. If she leaves and go back, I'm not gonna feel bad for her. I might still, like, if she needed me, I might still try to help her, but I'm not gonna feel bad for her. You know, I'm just not. That's fucking stupid. And like y'all know it's fucking stupid.
Well, you made a very valid point about women going back into these bad situations. Excuse me. Story time with the angry nerd. So I was the somewhat the enforcer in the family. If something bad happens, I'm the guy that you call because I'm coming with both barrels. I was that dude, and I had to learn a very valuable lesson. I learned this lesson when I was about 16. You can't get involved in domestic situations, and I learned that because a young lady had told her brother some things that weren't true. I wouldn't date her. What actually happened is I wouldn't date her. And I'm a little bit older than some of my listeners. And when I was growing up, if you were in high school and you were known to have performed fellatio on a young man, oral sex for the less inclined, if you have been known to do that, you were a pariah. Now, I know they have songs about eating butt and all kind of stuff like that now. But if you were in high school in the 90s, like myself, in the late 90s, that was taboo. You didn't do that. And I didn't want to date this young lady because I had heard that she had done this with a couple of guys. And I was like, well, I don't want to be carrying the books of the young lady who's giving BJs in the boys' bathroom, you know? So I don't want to be your boyfriend, you know? So, you know, please move on with yourself. She went on to talk bad to me. And then I was like, well, hold on. Let me respond to this because I know some things about you, and I colorfully expressed those things to her, and she said, well, I'm gonna get my brother. Her brother is this crazy joker who's been run over by a train, and he's been hit by a diesel. I've heard all these stories about him. You can't kill this dude, you know what I mean? He beats up grown. Now, I'm in the 11th grade. He beats up grown men 2 at a time. He's 8 feet tall, and he's got 4 feet wide shoulders. He's the baddest joker in the land, and I didn't want no parts. I was shaking in my boots. I was like, well, go tell him then, you know. But I was like, I hope she don't tell him. I hope she won't job, you know, and I've never seen the guy before. I just kept hearing all these stories, and I knew I didn't want no parts of the guy. So, lo and behold, I'm at the park playing basketball with my then girlfriend, who I just hurt my knee, and she was giving me a knee rub, and this crazy looking joker walks up to me, and he grabs my shirt and he swings, and thank God I had the lightning flash reflexes, and I ducked. And I got up, I'm like, hey man, we don't need, I realized that this was her brother. I said, we don't need to do this, man. You coming to fight for your sister's honor. There's no honor to be fought for. Long story short, out of fear, I ended up beating the crap out of this dude. I got a pretty good, I got some street cred behind that because I was like, yeah, don't nobody want none of this, you know? But what I learned right then was, every woman that comes to you with a story about what's going on with them isn't always true. It isn't always accurate. And I would tell my mother and I would tell my sister this: don't call me if you get into it with your guy, if you know you're still going to be with him afterward.
Right.
Now, because you're not going to have me go over here and do violence on this guy, brutalize him, and then I got to see him at the family reunion and the picnics and stuff.
Or if
you know,
or if, like, you end up getting arrested or something, she goes right back to him anyways.
Right. And I'm in there looking for visitation.
Right.
And that was the biggest takeaway from my adolescent years was I don't get involved in domestic situations because I was sitting on my porch one time. I was with my ex-wife and I was sitting there, and this was back when I was still a drinking man, and I was having a beer and I was sitting on the porch. And this couple, they looked like they were hopped up on meth or something. And they were in a little red Corsica. And they squirt! We stayed on a 4-way stop. And they screeched to a halt right in the middle of the street. And he jumps out, he's kicking her all in the tail, going all upside her head. And I'm sitting there drinking my beer. She said, what you gonna do, fella? You gonna call the police? And I was like, no, I'm gonna finish sipping my beer and watch you beat up your lady. You know, and after he got done, he said, get your ass in the car. You know, she got in the car, they drove off. And at the time, my wife was like, oh, why you not not gonna help her. I said, didn't you see that lady jump in the car and leave with him? I was like, if I had went out there and laid hands on that man, she'd have jumped on my back and beat on me and got me off of him. I've seen that happen so many times.
I personally got myself involved in like, hold on. Summer said they don't report it out of shame, embarrassment, and fear. Now if you have already left and you go back, that's a tizzy. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. But I've gotten myself involved in domestic disputes, you know what I'm saying? Like with the woman getting the shit slapped out of her and shit like that. Which I don't put my hands on women, but at the same time there's two sides to every story. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I've got myself involved, you know, whoop, and they end up going back to them anyways. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, and also most of the time it's
the women antagonize too.
yeah, most of the time like it's like they're abusing each other. You know what I'm saying? Most of the time they're abusing each other, but you know, society only looks at the man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I saw this one, like I said, I wouldn't punch a woman. I mean, unless you're Chris Cyborg or something. But I wouldn't punch a woman, but you ain't gonna punch me either. Like you ain't gonna punch me either. Like,
well, you have to think about it, and I know it's different because there's about 10 or so years in between me and you, and I know growing up, it was taboo to hit a young lady. A girl could, the chief tenet in manhood was walk away. That's what it was growing up. If you hit a girl, you're a punk. I remember girls would do anything. They would hit us with jump ropes. They would throw jacks at us. I don't know if any of you young people know what jacks are, but but they would hit us with jacks, and they would do all sorts of things. And it was an unwritten rule in society. If you're a boy, you don't hit a girl. And I've seen little kids, you know, with your little cousins and stuff playing, and you see the little girl do something, and she is pulling his hair, scratching him, kicking on him. Soon, whap, he hits her one time. Don't you hit that girl? Pop, pop, pop. You know, come here, man. You know, they're gonna get him, and that's the way we're socialized. And that's wrong because the scales have to be balanced. I am all for the equality of women and stuff like that. I personally, because of my previous endeavors with women, I believe that I owe a debt to the institution of womanhood, which I try to pay as best I can. I owe restitution to the institution of womanhood. How about that? So I believe that women are supposed to get everything that any other human being should get. But they should also be held equally accountable. Just like every other man, you have to take the good with the bad. Yeah. That means, I'm not paying all the bills. To hell with you. You need to kick in just a little, even if you pay the small bill.
I hate that. Okay, so I want to speak on that real quick because I did do a post about that as well, because a lot of women feel like that if the man don't pay for everything, then he's not a real man. Look, I'm gonna tell you like this: shit ain't the same like they was back when my mama was a kid. Like gas ain't fucking 25 cents no more. Like people, and I mean, it is crazy society, like how you have to work fucking 2 and 3 jobs just to make ends meet. Like even if most people, even if you have a fucking master's degree, unless you're like a fucking doctor or something, like it's still hard to get a damn job. And like so you working like 2 and 3 jobs just to pay your shit, and you're supposed to pay her shit too, cause like I saw this post, like this girl was like, you know, he pays all the bills, he pays my car note, his car note, and I'm thinking like, what do you do? She's like, well, I save my money for vacation, shit like that. I'm like, huh? No, okay, so not everybody's situation is the same. If a dude don't mind doing that, then okay, you know what I'm saying? That's y'all situation, whatever. Me personally, I believe in 50-50. Now, at a certain point, like everybody knows I'm a professional fighter, at a certain point, if I'm making that money to where I can pay for everything, then I probably won't have my woman, you know, doing that shit. You know what I'm saying? But for normal people with normal jobs, like 50-50 is not a bad thing. Like it depends on who you're with. So if you're with a man or woman and like he's okay with paying 100%, all right then. If you're with a man who wants to do 50-50 and you're okay with it, all right then. Like stay out of people's fucking relationships. You know what I'm saying? Just because what works for you don't mean that works for them.
And for any of the listeners who are wondering, how does this tie into domestic violence? Because the crux of the problem is equality. That's really what it boils down, is equality. And I tell guys this just because I deal with a lot of guys who come from the urban background, low-income communities, and I say, and I don't always practice this. I only share this information because it's what I'm trying to incorporate into my interactions with my woman. I'm trying to treat her more like I would treat my homie because I come from a background of gang banging and running with, certain guys and things like that. And loyalty is everything. Now, there are certain things that I would not do, to a friend, to one of my homies, to my bros. And I think if we apply a little bit of that, and for the upper middle class and the rich people, whatever that concept is for you guys, affluent people, whatever that concept is for you guys, if you will apply that to your romantic relationship, like I said, it's not a perfect science and I don't have it all figured out. I'm just saying it's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to develop that mentality to where I show her that loyalty that I would show one of the guys when we were on the block. The guys that you say sometimes you're with the guys all night doing, things of the street. So, and when you're out there, you have to be able to trust this individual. And I think that's what it really boils down to is equality. How can I really trust you if you're not being my partner all the way around the wood? How can I really trust you if the entire financial burden rests on my shoulders? It's not the 60s anymore. And what does that have to do with domestic violence, Harshawn? I'll tell you what it has to do with it. Not justification. What I'm talking about is reality. The stress, the anguish, and then to top it all off, you're coming at me with bullcrap. It's one thing to have to deal with a lot of bullcrap out in the streets, and then to come into my home and deal with some bullcrap too. And then there's no recourse. There's no respite. There is no way for me to get any type of pleasure in life. And we're not talking about with things, we're just talking about a sense of a sense of peace, a sense of tranquility. That's really what it boils down to. And I think that if we can start working toward equality, every aspect of equality along the entire spectrum, not just where it's convenient, not just where I benefit, but the entire spectrum, the good and the bad. Because I think it'll be a very different world if men knew that if a woman got down wrong with them, they could call the authorities and action would be taken against them. I think that it would be a very different playing field. I think that things would be a lot different. I think if we change, society is in desperate need of a paradigm shift. We need a psychic shift in society. So many women want a traditional man while they enjoy all of the accolades of a Renaissance woman. They want to live by the hot girl summer type of mentality, and they want you to live by Pawpaw's mentality. They want you to go out and work and pay the bills and do all these things. And that's the mentality that I'm seeing with domestic violence. I'm seeing women who want their cake and they want to eat it too. I had a personal friend of mine. Listen, this is my last story. I had a personal friend of mine who met a great guy. She got out of a relationship with a guy who was an abuser. And he was like one of those abusers who's probably always going to be beating up some woman, like just the worst kind of dude.
Yeah.
And he had broke her orbital cavity or whatever you call it, her eye socket. Yeah. He broke that one time. And so anyway, she got out of that situation and she met this guy. Great guy. I mean, he was like an Obama type dude, black dude, no tattoos, no criminal record, and he had a master's degree and he had a great career, like a great dude. Like I met him and I was like, dang, you everything that I dreamed of being in life, like I was like, man, I'm not worthy, and I was like, wow. And I was so happy, she's my friend, and I was like, oh, I'm so happy for you, especially knowing what kind of hell she had been through, and she met this great guy. So time goes on, and one day we're hanging out, and I was like, hey, where's so-and-so at? And she was like, oh, we decided to call it quits. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's a bummer, you know, what happened? And what she said floored me. She said, I don't know. He was just too nice.
I've met women who said that before.
Here's the kicker. After too nice. So I'm like, so what are you doing these days? You know, are you just single, working on self? Because I'm a big fan of that. If you're going to be single, work on self, figure out what you did wrong, what you need to do better, that kind of thing. I'm real big on that. So I'm like, so what are you doing right now? And she says, oh, well, me and such are back together. The guy with the good left hook. And I was like, what? I said, wait a minute. You left the young man who was, quote unquote, too nice for the guy who was using you as a punching bag?
Does she have kids?
Yes. And she has a child.
Exactly what I'm talking about.
And she had a child.
Exactly
and I was like, wait a minute. Nice guy doesn't get a chance. The pugilist, the woman beater, I mean the scumbag.
Wait.
He gets a second chance, and that killed me, man.
You gotta remember, Arshawn, manipulation, though. Manipulation.
That's a cop-out. Because let me tell you something. You're about to get me talking about religion, and I don't want to do that. A lot of religious people do that. You know, it was the devil. You know, it wasn't me. The devil did it, you know. I'm like, that doggone devil a bad boy, man. He always doing something, making people do something. And, you know, that's the same psychology that I see with women who say that, well, he manipulated me into going back with him, or, you know, he coerced me into going back. Like, you didn't have a choice. Like, you weren't, you know, like, you're not an adult. You know what I mean? And it's like personal responsibility. That's why I had to have you come on. I was so glad that you reached out and you were willing to come on, because it struck a chord with me, because the young ladies that I saw in your post, because you saw what I saw was where you were being logical and you were expressing yourself. Then once they couldn't win you over with their feminist ideals, then they got disrespectful. Then they started berating you and belittling you and wishing bad on you. And I was like, what kind of person are you? Okay, listen, I'm a person who believes in free speech. And I think I adopted this philosophy from D.L. Hughley. Like, even if you're a racist and you say like the N-word, like it's not my place to say you can't say that. Because just like I want to be free to say whatever I want to say, I have to allow other people the opportunity to do the same, to exercise their First Amendment rights. You know what I'm saying? So while I say crazy things and I say unbecoming things sometimes, I have to be aware and accepting of people exercising their right to say what they want and to believe the way that they want. I'm not just like a stumped down like American patriot, but isn't that what this country was founded upon? These rights, these freedoms, these liberties. So I mean, that's why they wanted to come over here and create this America. It's because we can have the right to believe and think the way that we want. But it appears that society at large, based on social media, is moving back to that mindset to where if you don't think like us, we're canceling you.
Yeah, like I said, like we're all adults. If you don't agree, we don't agree. And like I said, because if I know like anything I say, like I made a post about it today. If I know you personally, you know what I'm saying? Because people I know personally and love, you know, I don't mean to offend you. You know, I'm just giving my opinion. But if I do offend you, you know, I do apologize for that. You know what I'm saying? We can, you know, talk, sort it out, whatever. If I don't know you, fuck you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I don't know you, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you trying to change my opinion, but you're not going to change my opinion. I don't expect to change your opinion. You know what I'm saying? I don't care to. We're adults. We don't agree. Move the fuck on. Like, our homie Trevor, everybody know Trevor, Blackie Chan. There's so much shit me and him don't agree on. Me and him have gotten into, like, heated altercations. But we never get disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? We have heated altercations. And then usually at the end, we laugh about it. Because we're just like, okay, you know what? We ain't going to agree. Fuck it. You know what I'm saying? That's how adults do. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I don't start being disrespectful so somebody else would be disrespectful. Because there was this girl, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there was this girl, you know what I'm saying, she was arguing with somebody on my post, and the woman was like, if you don't like it, why are you still here? She replied back with saying, bitch, I can. And so I said, okay, so now you're about to get disrespectful and insult people. And she said, bitch is a word. And I was like, okay, so when was bitch not an insult? Like, bitch is a fucking insult. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? That was fucking stupid. Like, because bitch I can. Like I said, you don't like what I say, fucking. It's almost like I said, like a year ago when I used to always post my opinion, people would message me and explain to me why they're unfriending me, and I'm like, motherfucker, if you're gonna unfriend me, unfriend me. Like, I don't give a fuck why you unfriending me. Like, unless you're somebody I care about. Like, I've had a couple of people I care about like message because they didn't really understand what I was saying, so they would message me and be like, listen, so I feel this way about it, and I'll be, you know, we would talk about it, you know, we get an understanding, you know what I'm saying. But if I don't know you, then fuck you, you know what I'm saying. Like that's. I mean, unless you a dude, I would just slap the shit out you, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, I don't like arguing with women because I don't put my hands on women. But, you know, you sensitive ass motherfuckers can stay off my post.
Solo Hatley, ladies and gentlemen. I really want to thank everybody on Spotify, YouTube, and Podbean for listening. I want to thank all my friends in Facebook world for watching on Facebook Live. It's been fun. I hope somebody got something out of this. I don't want anyone to think that victims are being blamed. That's not what we're talking about. Some people will say things like that, but that's not our motivation at all. What our motivation is behind this video is to get people to understand that equality is what's needed. We have to understand that women are not victims anymore. Women aren't victims. Women have choices. This isn't the 50s or the 60s when, you know, you couldn't report, you couldn't leave, you couldn't do anything. It is no longer that day and age. There are so many resources that women have at their disposal now. There is no excuse to stay with an abuser. And if you are in an abusive relationship, please seek help. Reach out to someone, find a family member, a pastor, a teacher, a mentor, a community activist. There is somebody somewhere, an employer, a supervisor, there's somebody somewhere who can help you. This is the information age. I don't know anyone in my life who doesn't have a cell phone. I don't even think they make flip phones anymore. So if you have a cell phone, it's probably a smartphone. So that means you can get online, Google it. How do I get away from this dude that's kicking my ass? I would Google it just like that. And get out of that bad situation. Stop making excuses. Let me tell you something. If he's putting his hands on you, he is not going to stop. He is going to continue putting his hands on you. And the end result will be you or your child will die. So stop saying these making these excuses. They're cockamamie excuses to begin with. You don't know what kind of control he has over me. He manipulates me. Stop. Stop. No. You have choices. You have people out here who will help you. You have tons of resources. You need to reach out. Later for the victimhood. We don't live in that society anymore. Later for the victimhood. Reach out to somebody. I would like to thank my very special guest, Solo Hatley Jr., professional MMA extraordinaire. If you notice, I'm talking out the right side of my mouth because he flattened my lip up earlier tonight. And I just want to thank everybody for listening on Spotify, YouTube, and Podbean. I'm getting that down packed. Thank you to my friends on Facebook Live. You guys have a good night. It's been real. Solo. Peace out.